AITA for telling my sister that CPS wouldn't be involved if she and her husband were better parents? From the subreddit of Am I the Asshole? About a month ago, CPS became involved in my sister Susie's home. Susie and her husband John have 3 kids, and their youngest James has struggled with food since solids were introduced to his diet. He was labeled as a fussy eater by Susie and John, and they would often complain about how stubborn James was about food and how he wouldn't eat for them. My wife Elle suggested that they could ask the pediatrician about it, and she brought up how she had sensory feeding issues her whole life and was always misunderstood and mislabeled as just fussy when she really couldn't eat certain things. That she was unofficially diagnosed and treated for sensory processing disorder around food, and that it could get really bad when not handled carefully. Elle told Susie that she was hospitalized a lot as a kid because she couldn't eat what was offered and would rather stay hungry than eat something she couldn't tolerate or something that would make her puke. She also spoke about treatment as an adult meant it was very slow progress and far more difficult, according to the feeding therapist. Susie's response to Elle was rude and extremely aggressive. She called Elle a child for the way she eats, and she refused to allow James to reject food all the time. She said no kid will refuse to eat as long as Elle claims. And fuck Elle for acting like she's anything but a spoiled picky eater who thinks it's normal to eat the way she does. Elle and I stepped back after this because I have my wife's back. I also didn't think it was fair for Susie to respond the way she did. Several months ago, James ended up in the hospital for his lack of eating, and they were referred to a team to help them diagnose and treat James. A feeding therapist was introduced, and Susie and John were given a lot of resources and tools, and they were told to make sure James had at least 2 or 3 things at each meal that he would eat. They didn't listen, and James ended up back in the hospital twice since then for not eating, and this resulted in a call to CPS. Even though Elle and I had not seen or spoken to them in almost 2 years, Susie blamed Elle for the CPS involvement and claimed she was trying to make them appear like bad parents. She hates the CPS involvement because they are more or less forcing them to follow the advice of the professionals. I told Susie that CPS wouldn't be involved if she and John were better parents and did better by their kid. I told her Elle tried to approach this kindly with them and she was dismissed, and they even dismissed the concerns of professionals, so they have nobody to blame but themselves. She did not like that, but I ended the call and blocked her number. I saw her 2 days ago while at my parents' house, and she started calling me an asshole, and my mom asked why I had to add to the stress of the situation for Susie, and she told me it doesn't help James. AITA